Thanks for your call. As promised, Congressman Phil Rowe is joining us. He is a member of the Education and Labor Committee in the House. He's a Republican of Tennessee, representing the 1st District of that state. One of our callers, as you were getting ready, Mr. Rowe, suggested that the Republicans' answer to education's problems is charter schools to the detriment of public schools. How would you respond to that?
No, I don't think so. The education problem in the state, and I guess I could tell you that I've overdosed on education, and all in the public education system. I went to school, not counting kindergarten, for 24 years, so that should be I laughingly say I overdosed, but we have a system that has gradually deteriorated, I should say, over the years, and we have dropout rates now that in some places are just astonishing. In Detroit, the numbers that were presented to our Labor and Education Committee were 75%. That is not acceptable. And I've spent almost 10 years of my life in the inner city of Memphis, so I have a good idea about the inner city school systems. I now live in rural America, in northeast Tennessee, which is a mountainous area there. So two different systems altogether. The complaints that a lot of people have about charter schools, I think, are unwarranted. I certainly can see where if you put the brighter and better students in a school and you leave the other students who are not as motivated or don't have as good a family situation maybe in the public school system, that there would be a higher failure rate in those. I certainly understand that, and I've heard my teachers at home that I've seen and talked to complain about this.
This comment from N. Carlin on Twitter: 50 years ago we had technical high school for boys who wanted to work with their hands. Wouldn't that help with dropouts?
You know, we have I think you have to look at that. If what you're doing isn't working, you can take anything, as far as I'm concerned, is on the table. I mean, we have in some places in this country basically an education disaster. And yes, I would look at that. We have at home in Tennessee what are called our Tennessee Technology Centers, which act like that for young folks that maybe have dropped out or were misguided or whatever and didn't finish school. They can go to a technical school and, for instance, for welding, electricity, or carpentry, or whatever it may be. The Job Corps also fills some of these needs, as you know.
Next phone call from Mr. Rowe is from Annapolis. This is Frank, Republican line. Good morning, Frank.
Yes, thanks can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I just wanted the guests to comment on both speeches yesterday from the President and from the Republican response in regards to the current segregation on education, how students are still being, people in my community, in the minorities communities, are still being educated based on the zip codes and based on the parents' economic status. I think that we're still going backwards to before Brown versus the Board of Education. Kids are innocent and shouldn't be educated. They shouldn't have a quality of education based on their parents' economic status.
Thank you, Frank. Let's get a response from Mr. Rowe.
You know, he makes a great point. I think one of the issues and problems are about neighborhood schools. We talked about this yesterday. In many communities, I know I made a decision to buy a home in a certain community because of the neighborhood school. And what I think he's saying is that some people, because of their socioeconomic status, their lower economy, are trapped in underperforming schools. And that was one of the things that the No Child Left Behind legislation tried to address, that if this school remained as a failing school, that the parent would be able to move that child to a different school. It hasn't worked out quite that way, and certainly he makes a great point, and I'm not sure exactly what the answer for that is, because economies do separate us. The paycheck does. He's right about that.
Well, does it also come out from the tradition of locally funded schools?
It does, and some areas, for instance, put more, in where we are, there are two school systems, a county and a city school system, and the county, the state, and the federal government put in money, but in the city system, the county, the state, the federal, and the local city puts in money. So you are dealing with different funding levels in different school systems in different localities. There's no question that's true.
Springfield, Tennessee is next for Mr. Rowe. Jerry, Democrats line.
Yes, I would like to say children cannot learn in the schools with a calculator in their hand. The calculator is doing the work. My son and his wife are both special education teachers. We have a two-year-old granddaughter. She'll be 2 next month. She already knows her ABCs. She can already count to 15. We work with her every day and her parents. People are not out here trying to help educate their children.
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't get what part of Tennessee he was from, but what a great comment that he made is that there's no question that's true. And if you want to spend the next hour and a half, I'll tell you about my grandkids, too, if you'd like to do that. But he is right. As a family, of course, they're 2 educators, and so they know the importance of education. The problem with a lot of people is that they don't have any education. They don't see how it helps them. My dad worked in a factory, and it was very important for my family for me to go to school, and I did. And I think certainly the President said last night one of the best anti-poverty programs. I will tell you, in my opinion, it is the best anti-poverty program in the world is in education. Let me give the public just a brief example. Learning starts at birth, and children start learning right then. I know I spent a career delivering babies. That's what I did for a living. And you watch families that would come in, and in Tennessee, both the governor and Dolly Parton, every child in the state of Tennessee gets a book every month until they're 5 years old in the state to encourage them to learn, encourage people to begin at that very young age when they're developing the mind to educate these kids. That was a great call.
And that's it for our time with you, Mr. Rowe. Thank you very much. Much more to discuss on education policy in the weeks ahead. Thank you for spending some time on this morning after the State of the Union address.
Thanks so much for having me.
Today, the President travels to Tampa, St. Pete.